Imagine this. You've served your country for 22 years. You've done the hard jobs, the dangerous ones, the ones nobody thanks you for. And now you have one final mission: bring a fallen soldier home to his mother. You walk through the airport in full dress uniform, flag-draped case beside you, papers in order, everything correct. But when you reach the gate, they look at you like you don't belong. Not because of what you're carrying, because of the color of your skin. This is that story. Staff Sergeant Jayden Carter woke up at 0400 hours that morning, same as he had for the past 2 decades. His apartment was small, quiet, neat. Pictures on the wall, his mother, his sister, a few buddies from basic training. One photo sat on his nightstand, a younger version of himself in brand new fatigues, smiling wide, full of hope. That was 22 years ago, back when he thought the uniform would be enough. Back when he believed respect was automatic. He'd learned otherwise. Jayden wasn't a general. He wasn't a decorated war hero with a chest full of medals. He was a working soldier, the kind who showed up early and stayed late, the kind who volunteered for the assignments nobody else wanted, the kind who kept his word, no matter what. And that morning, his word was simple: get Private Daniel Ruiz home. 19 years old, killed in action 2 weeks ago. Jayden had read the report 3 times. Roadside IED. Instant. The kid didn't suffer. That's what they told the family. Jayden wasn't sure if it was true, but he hoped it was. He'd escorted 11 fallen soldiers before this. 11 times he'd walked through airports carrying someone's child. 11 times he'd knocked on a door and watched a mother collapse. It never got easier, but it mattered, because someone had to do it. Someone had to make sure they came home with dignity, with honor. Jayden took that seriously. He dressed slowly that morning, each button fastened with care, each crease aligned perfectly, shoes polished until they reflected the ceiling light. His hands were steady, they always were, but inside his chest felt heavy, because he knew what today meant. Somewhere, a mother was waiting, and he was bringing her the worst news a parent could ever receive. The transfer case waited at the staging area, draped in the American flag, perfectly folded, perfectly placed. Jayden stood beside it for a moment, silent. He didn't pray, he'd stopped years ago. But he did speak, quietly. "I've got you, brother. I'll get you home." It was a promise, and Jayden Carter never broke a promise. The airport was already crowded by the time he arrived. Families rushing, business people on phones, kids running between luggage carts. Normal chaos. But when Jayden walked through, rolling the flag-draped case beside him, people stopped. Some nodded respectfully. Some placed hands over their hearts. Some just stared. Jayden was used to it. When you're a black man in uniform, you get looks. Some filled with respect, some filled with doubt, some filled with fear. He'd learned to read them all. At gate 27, he approached the counter. The agent was young, maybe mid-20s, blonde hair pulled back tight. She was typing fast, barely looking up. Jayden waited patiently. When she finally glanced at him, her fingers stopped. Her eyes went to the case, then to his face, then back to the case. Jayden offered a polite nod. "Morning, ma'am. Staff Sergeant Jayden Carter, escort detail." He placed his documents on the counter, military orders, clearances, everything official and in order. This should have taken 30 seconds, but she didn't pick up the papers. She just stared. Not at the documents, at him. Her smile disappeared, and Jayden felt it immediately, that shift in the air, that familiar weight pressing down on his shoulders. He'd been here before. Not at this gate, not with this agent, but in moments just like this. Moments where his uniform wasn't enough, where his rank didn't matter, where the only thing people saw was his skin. "Step to the side, please." Her voice was flat, cold. Not "thank you for your service," not "let me verify this quickly," just Step aside. Jayden didn't argue. He moved to the left, pulling the case with him. Behind him, two passengers approached the counter. Both white, both in business suits, both waved through without a single question. No documents checked, no second looks. Just smooth and easy. Jayden watched it happen. He didn't say anything, but his jaw tightened. The gate agent picked up a phone. She whispered into it while glancing at Jayden. He caught fragments. Not sure. Need a supervisor. Just to be safe. Safe, like he was a threat. Like the flag-draped case beside him was suspicious. Like 22 years of service meant nothing. A woman in her 60s stood nearby, waiting to board. She noticed the exchange, frowned, looked at Jayden, looked at the case, then back at the agent. She didn't say anything yet, but Jayden saw her watching. 3 minutes passed, then 5. Other passengers boarded smoothly. Jayden stayed off to the side, calm, patient, because losing his temper wouldn't help. It never did. When you're black in America, you learn early. Stay calm, stay respectful, because anger, even justified anger, gets used against you. Finally, a supervisor arrived. Mid-40s, tight bun, clipboard in hand. She walked over with her arms already crossed, a posture Jayden recognized immediately. Defensive, skeptical, decided. She looked him up and down like she was scanning for a problem. "Sir, what's inside the container?" Jayden kept his voice even, respectful. "A fallen soldier, ma'am. Private Daniel Ruiz, 19 years old, killed in action." She didn't blink, didn't soften, just nodded once. "We're going to need to inspect it." And just like that, everything stopped. Because you don't open a transfer case. Not in public, not in an airport terminal, not ever. It's military protocol. It's federal law. It's about dignity. Jayden's voice stayed calm but firm. "Ma'am, with respect, military policy does not allow that. The case remains sealed during transport." Her expression didn't change. "Well, airline policy requires verification of contents." Jayden felt his heartbeat pick up, but his face stayed still. "Ma'am, I have full documentation, orders from the Department of Defense, clearances from TSA, everything is in order." She glanced at the papers, barely, then looked back at him, and said the words he would never forget. "We can't just let anyone walk onto a plane with something like that." Anyone. Not soldier, not staff sergeant, anyone. The meaning was crystal clear. She didn't see a service member. She saw a black man she didn't trust. Jayden's hands curled into fists at his sides, but his voice stayed level. "Ma'am, I am a United States Army Staff Sergeant. I have escorted 11 fallen soldiers home. I know the protocol. I follow the law. And I am asking you, respectfully, to honor that." She tilted her head. "And I'm asking you, respectfully, to comply with airline security." It wasn't a request. It was a threat. That's when security showed up. 2 guards, both white, both with hands hovering near their belts. Like Jayden might be dangerous. Like he might run. Like the uniform he wore was a costume. One of them looked him up and down and asked, "Is that uniform real?" Jayden felt the heat rising in his chest, felt his breathing tighten, but he kept his voice steady, kept his hands visible, kept his eyes forward. "Yes, sir, it's real. I earned it." The guard squinted. "You got ID?" Jayden slowly reached into his pocket, pulled out his military ID, handed it over. The guard studied it like it might be fake, turned it over, held it up to the light, finally handed it back. No apology, no acknowledgement, just suspicion. By now, a small crowd had gathered. People weren't boarding anymore. They were watching. A mother with 2 young kids stood near the window, frowning. An older couple whispered to each other, shaking their heads. And near the back, a man in a faded Vietnam veteran cap stood perfectly still, arms crossed, jaw clenched. watching everything. The supervisor raised her voice, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Sir, if you do not open the container for inspection, you will not be allowed to board this flight." Jayden looked down at the flag, the red, white, and blue draped carefully over the case. He thought about Private Ruiz, 19 years old, a kid who wanted to serve his country, a kid who died doing it. And now, they wanted to treat him like cargo, like something suspicious, like he didn't deserve dignity. Jayden looked back up, looked the supervisor straight in the eye, and said quietly but firmly, "I will not dishonor him for your suspicion." Silence. The entire gate went quiet. And that's when something unexpected happened. The old man in the Vietnam veteran cap stepped forward. His voice shook, not with fear, with rage. "Ma'am, that soldier is doing his duty, and you're disrespecting him and that flag in front of all of us." The supervisor turned. "Sir, this is a security matter." "This is a disgrace," the old vet interrupted. His eyes were wet. His hands were shaking. "I escorted men home from Vietnam, and we were treated with honor. This man deserves the same." Then the mother with the two kids spoke up. "This is wrong." Another voice from the crowd. "He's in uniform. Let him through." A businessman in a tie. "What are you even doing? He has paperwork." Within seconds, more people joined in. Not yelling, not aggressive, just standing up. Because they could see it now, clear as day. This wasn't about security. This was about race. The supervisor's face changed. Her confidence cracked. Now there were witnesses. Now there were voices. Now it wasn't just one black soldier at a counter. Now it was an entire gate full of Americans, watching her every move. She held up a hand. "Everyone, please, this is just protocol." "Bullshit." The word came from a woman in scrubs, a nurse maybe. She pointed at the two businessmen who'd walked through earlier. "You didn't stop them. You didn't ask them to open anything, so don't stand there and lie." The supervisor opened her mouth, then closed it, because she had no answer. 5 minutes later, everything shifted. The supervisor's tone completely changed. "Sir, perhaps we made an error. We can upgrade your seat, first class." Jayden shook his head. "I don't want first class. We can offer compensation, a voucher. I don't want money." She hesitated. "Then, what do you want?" Jayden looked her straight in the eye. His voice was calm, but every word landed like a hammer. "I want you to treat him like a hero, not like luggage, not like a threat, like the soldier he was." Silence. 10 minutes later, military transport arrived. An officer in dress blues, 2 honor guards. No more questions, no more delays, just respect. As Jayden rolled the flag-draped case across the tarmac toward the waiting vehicle, the entire gate area went silent. Hats came off, hands went over hearts. The old Vietnam vet stood at attention and saluted, tears running down his face. The mother with the kids explained quietly to her children what was happening. The businessman who'd spoken up nodded solemnly. And Jayden, for the first time that morning, felt peace. Because in the end, decency won. Not policy, not prejudice, not fear, decency. That night, Jayden stood on a quiet porch in a small town 2 states over. The flag was folded now, 13 folds, perfect triangles. He held it carefully in both hands and knocked. The door opened. A woman in her 40s stood there. Her eyes were already red. She knew why he was here. Jayden's voice was gentle. "Mrs. Ruiz, on behalf of the President of the United States in a grateful nation." She didn't let him finish. She reached out, took the flag, and collapsed into his arms, sobbing. Jayden held her, didn't say anything, because there was nothing to say. Later, after the family had gone inside, Jayden sat alone in his car, hands on the steering wheel, staring at nothing. He thought about the airport, about the supervisor, about the looks, about the crowd that stood up, and he thought about Private Ruiz, a kid who believed in something bigger than himself, a kid who gave everything and deserved to come home with honor. Jayden started the engine and drove into the night. Another mission complete, another promise kept. Maybe next time someone sees a person in uniform, they'll remember this story. Respect shouldn't depend on skin color. A soldier is a soldier. A hero is a hero. And dignity should never have to be earned twice.